So we've really got a great system now. We were able to push data from here up onto a cloud dashboard. We're able to push data from an ESP32 up onto a cloud dashboard, and we're able to visualize that on that dashboard. We're using Watson to help to give some admin access and to label some of our data types and organize the stream of data. This is the data coming up from the PLC, data coming up from the BME, and that goes on out to Node-RED through this. But we're also sending some more data up in the user from the sensor BME. Push a push button. I'm kind of taking that data from here and I'm putting it into the user inputs through Node-RED. So I kind of eject it out of here, save it into there, and then I start sending data down in this table. So I can use my local version of Node-RED to start receiving data down to the cloud and actually writing to that particular client. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is just pretty much replicate the button. Where am I now? All these windows opened. Going to replicate the button, this push button. So we've this is the physical push button. Okay. We're going to replicate this push button on a dashboard so that we can go ahead and activate the system as well. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm also going to create a push button. Okay, so when we push this push button, let's grab on the dashboard. I'm going to use a push button that we can turn on. Okay, a switch, and we're going to use that switch. We can put it on the system or put it on the PLC group. Okay, so to apply that there now, we'll put this push button here, and I can actually organize that just a little bit better. Let's look at the dashboard. Full system PLC, just put it towards the bottom, deploy that little bit of a change. That when we push this, we'll also see this value come through, and then we'll send that down. Okay. So we've got a couple of things that we want to do with this. Okay. Now, how that's going to work is this is where. No, sorry, actually not there. This is where the value of the push button is getting saved and getting stored locally. So I'm going to use that to also feed in a value in here. So if I activate this, then we should have basically a message coming in, and we're going to set up some logic in here to also either save it from this payload here, save it from this payload here, or to take it from the switch. So sorry, yes, what I actually want to do is I want to hijack in here. I want to take the value of the switch and I want to store it in a function. Okay, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to store it into the same variable here. Okay, so you can see here I just created another variable message button. This is a local variable to the function, so it doesn't contradict with this. This is all saved locally, but this is saved globally. So I can, once I take that value in and just say, well, the payloads of them will equal each other, then I can override the value that's in the button from this new kind of temporary value. So press the switch, stores it into that value, which overwrites the global one, and then I'm also going to have that coming in as the push button there. And then once that overwrites it globally, well, that'll still write in down here because this function is still just looking at that global ESP button. So if we deploy that, right, and we actually look at the context data, you can see the ESP button's off, right? And I can't activate it. I can only activate it in here. I can see it go through. I can see the ESP button should change its value. It's back at 0. Why? Because the temperature is pushing up a value. But as that goes through, that should turn on what we have here. Okay. So let me just tidy it up a wee bit better. Yeah, so again, just to explain that a little bit better, what's happening here is as soon as we activate the switch, it will inject the payload through into the push button. Okay. And then we will eventually get our 5-second update of the 0. Okay, or whatever, you know, I could have pressed that and there was only 2 seconds or 1 second left. Now, our system has turned on. We can see that it has turned on. I will knock it back off again, put it back to 0. But even though this is still valued through, it only injects the payload when you actually click it. So when I click it again, it goes back to false, and then that'll eventually update to a 0 as the 5-second times from the ESP. So remember, it's getting data from the ESP or from this. And what you can do with that is, instead of maybe doing true or false, you could do, I think we should be able to do a number. We should be able to do 1 or 0, just to tidy it up, make it look a little bit more consistent. System's off there. We should see this when we turn that on. It goes to 1, and then that's true, and it'll eventually go back to 0. And there is our system. Modify back to 1 and modify that back to 0. That is our full system there, guys. We have a dashboard with user interaction from the cloud that I can turn on and off in output. I also have a hardware button from another Arduino device that can influence this separate system. And we can read data from that system, we can read data from this system, we can bring it collectively together on the one dashboard. So yeah, what a project. Really a lot going on. We have Node-RED on the cloud with a dashboard. We have Node-RED running locally down in here with no dashboard, but we could equally have a dashboard. We have hardware from the PLC system and software seeing the updates. We have hardware and software from the ESP32 seeing updates, and we're using a range of cloud services on IBM Cloud here. We're using a range of services, most notably IBM Watson, to help direct traffic and help store some traffic. And that's the project, guys. So yes, you could continue on this dashboard, put in more and more metrics as you see fit, maybe better imagery to see how the buttons are being pressed and lights on and lights off, or trends of how temperature is being plotted. And again, maybe have a nicer PLC side of things with a switch to maybe turn it off and a switch to maybe turn it off. Turn it on and turn it off with the logic of starting a reset. So yeah, it's been a journey. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed it and you've learned something from it. And I'll see you again in another series of videos.